My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Arin Lindauer, and today I've got one that is going to hit home for literally all my women's. And why do women get so confused about weight loss? And listen, I have no shortage of DMs every single day of women who think they have it all figured out, which, if you do, awesome. But what are you doing in my DMs if you got it all figured out? So, okay. Anyways, I want to speak into this on this podcast here today because women are confused, but listen, it's not your fault. And that's why I want to dig into this a little bit deeper so that you have a better understanding, because I am on such a darn mission to make sure that women do weight loss and do it for life. Because ladies, listen to me, there is so much more to life than thinking about weight loss. Like if you took the amount of time that you have spent trying to figure this out, all the money you have spent, all the diets, I'll get my shit together this Monday. And I say that in respect because here's the deal. I got to call this stuff out so that you feel seen, you feel heard, and you do something about it, most importantly. Okay. And here's the deal. Every diet, it contradicts the last. Like if you have hung out in this field for a hot minute, which I know you have, is you have done it all, right? And I always joke because I grew up in the era where, my parents did the cabbage soup diet, which that was gross. My parents did slim fast shakes. You know, the ones that actually came in a can, it was like a can, you could actually taste the can. It was so gross. I think they eventually moved it out of it, but what were we really drinking? That was so gross. And I remember drinking it in high school thinking this was a good thing. So anyways, but here's the deal. Every diet will contradict itself at some point. So they tell you to eat carbs, then they tell you not to eat carbs. They tell you to fast. And then they say, well, fasting wrecks your hormones, which actually, I'm going to just put an asterisk there. Fasting for most women does not work because yes, it does wreck your hormones. Keto is queen. Actually, keto is not queen. Actually, keto can wreck hormones. So I do want to speak in. So anyways, this is where I want to almost come in here with the asterisks. And maybe that's what I should turn this podcast into is, they also say calories in, calories out, no, but it's all about your hormones. And you're wondering what the hell do I really do? So let me come back. I want to actually come back to this stuff and I want to address this. So here's the deal. Carbs or no carbs. Some women will do well with minimal carbs. So myself personally, I do much, much better when I do pull my carbs, but I still have some carbs. And here's the other thing. I've gotten so in tune with my body that I know when I need carbs. And it's not from a binge perspective. It's more from I probably do need a little more carbohydrate. But here's the thing that most do is they over have carbohydrates. When you think about all of our quick and go, grab and on the run, most of our foods are legitimately carbohydrates in most capacities. So here's the deal. Is it no carb, low carb? lots of carbs? It depends. And that's where I'm going to tell you, this is why it's so confusing, because every woman, and this is why I believe in personally giving every woman a custom plan, because are there going to be nuances for most women? Absolutely. But this is where we can tweak things. And so especially too, if a woman is still menstruating, carbs are a wonderful thing to help you leading up to your cycle, helping you those first couple days of your cycle, and then we can transition to back to a more lower carb if that's appropriate for you personally. But carbs can be such a life-giving, especially if we can equate around your cycle. So again, this is not, and then here's the other asterisk that comes into carbohydrates is we have to also understand how much activity you're doing. If you come to me and say, hey, Arin, I want to lose weight, but I'm going to run a half marathon, or Arin, I want to lose weight, I'm going to run a marathon. First off, I'm going to be like, hey girl, those goals don't go together. Can you lose weight and train for a half marathon? You can, but you're going to have to be very, very, very intentional, and you're going to have to be okay being uncomfortable, especially when your mileage increases. So I add that in there because so many times I have women tell me, I'm trying to run, I want to lose weight. And typically that does not go together, especially when we're 40 plus. And there's a lot of rhyme and reason to it. When we run, we have a lot of impact. So we're potentially raising some cortisol. But what happens when you run and you have vigorous activity like running or HIIT training or kickboxing or boot camps, that kind of stuff, you are hungrier because you have burned more calories. The problem is most of us cannot self-regulate when we're hungry like that because we've burned the amount of calories. So that's where that one can get really, really confusing. And so for most women, the recommendation that I make is, hey girl, just walk. Just please walk. Walk and resistance train, progressively resistance train, okay? And we need to have carbs, but carbs can't be the main focus. Or this will solve most women's problems. Your carbs need to come from fruits and veggies, okay? Or if we have something like a potato or a pasta, it needs to be the amount that would fit in a cupped hand. That is sad. If you have ever measured out your pasta or potatoes in a cupped hand, which is typically about a half a cup to a third of a cup, it is probably the most sad amount sitting on your plate. I digress, but that is what we need to focus on. Okay, let's talk about fasting. Fasting can absolutely trash a woman's hormones, especially if we're doing those just long durations of fasts. Like you can potentially, and so here's where I want to come with an asterisk, is there is validity to doing a daily, meaning a whole day fast. Okay. There has also been a lot of anti-aging, good optimization benefits from doing certain periods of fasting. Okay. That is a totally different point than a woman trying to lose weight. So here's where I'm coming from. A woman will tell me like, hey girl, I'm going to do intermittent fasting. And the goal with that is I want to lose weight. Okay. Well, what actually is going on is when a woman has reduced her eating window, in theory, all we really need to do is lessen the amount of calories that she's taking in versus how many she burns. So whether you do that in said window of time doesn't really matter. So yes, there are some claims and there is some science and validity to we're more in a fat burning state. We've depleted all of our glycogen. So there is pieces to that. And I don't want to say that, hey, this strategy doesn't work. But what I find for most women is even if they do fasting, they're still consuming too many calories. So that one comes with a double-edged sword. Keto. Okay, keto can work for a short amount of time. Now, if you're unfamiliar with keto, so keto is where we're getting our body into ketosis. And how you do this is you do completely pull carbs. Now, here's the deal. If you are working out, if you're walking, if you're having any kind of a life, you're probably not going to feel very good. Now, here's the deal. There are some women, there are certain body types, certain insulin type of women that will respond to a ketogenic diet. And typically it's only for a short duration of time, and it can be helpful. See why this is so freaking confusing? So again, what I'm here to tell you is you can't just go balls to the wall one way or the other. Typically, there's a balance to all of this. You know, someone could look at my diet and be like, oh, she eats keto. No, I actually just eat lower carb, but that's what I have found to work best for my body. And it's just what I naturally gravitated to. The main focus that I focus on every single day is how much protein am I getting in, number one. And then number two, what are my overall calories? And when I was in a fat loss phase, meaning I wanted to get fat off my body, I absolutely pulled my calories and focused on high protein. Now that I'm kind of settling into, okay, this is the body fat percentage that I prefer, you pull your calories up just slightly to basically meet what you burn every day. And so how do I know how many calories I burn every day? I wear this fancy ring called an Oura ring, and it is my BFF. It tells me how much I sleep. It tells me how well my body is recovered. It says, yo girl, go easy today, which I don't know why I had to have that, but it actually is helpful. And so having data is critical. And so for myself personally, I typically burn about 1,900 calories to 2,300 calories. Like, it's not a ton of calories. And when you think about most people and what they consume well over 2,000 calories every single day. If you are dining out minimum one time a day, or just if you do dine out, that meal, I promise you, is minimum 700 calories. Like, there's very few restaurants that actually, put what's appropriate on your plate, or it's just what it's cooked in, right? So again, this is why this gets so confusing. And so then you may be asking, well, is this just a calories in, calories out question? And I would tell you, for the most part, that can be the right strategy, but not always. And so this is where you have a lot of other factors that come in. And so especially if a woman is resistance training and doing it the right way, meaning progressive resistance training, well, guess what? It isn't just calories in, calories out. There's more to the story. And also, what is the nutrient density of your food? So hopefully that is clear as mud now. And I've helped that piece. But here's the thing. You got to remember that this whole fitness, health, weight loss industry, they profit off of your confusion. How many times have you bought the things? I've talked to women literally all day long, and the booty bands. How many of you have all bought the booty bands? Y'all have them. Y'all tell me you have them. So, I mean, it's just all those little things. And the problem is this just leaves you feeling broken. You keep buying the next thing. You get more programs, more shakes, more apps, and it just leads to more desperation. And the problem is every time January comes and rolls around, boom, here we are once again, New Year's resolutions. Can you imagine this? What if this January 2026, let's forecast into the future. What if you already had hit your goal? What if you had already hit your goal? So I want every woman listening to this right now. What if, and so if you're listening to this in timestamp, which is July, or almost the end of July, if you're listening to this in current time, I want you to visualize, what if next January, you are already at your goal? You know what that means. That means you started now. That means you reached out to a competent coach like me and you said, hey girl, I listened to you. You're like literally in my head. You hear all the things that I'm saying. And the only reason I can say the things that I say is because I've literally had these feelings, or obviously coaching, it's into the thousands of women at this point over 17 years. I've been around the block a couple times. Okay. So What if this January you were already at your goal? What if this January you felt so confident in your own skin that you set new goals, meaning maybe you have a new body composition, or maybe, how about this? What if your health was just so freaking awesome that you're setting different goals? Because now you're thinking about that career move that you've never made. What if you are now thinking about a financial goal that you're like, cool, this year my focus is on this? What if you didn't have to focus on your health because you're just in such a groove? You're in a rhythm. You've got it all figured out. I want you to know that that's possible. The other thing that happens with all of this is women just aren't taught these things for whatever reason. And I personally know what it is. So like when I think about myself, if I hadn't gone into this industry, like I wouldn't have had any clue about how to work out, what kind of nutrition to put together, because it's not like this was something my mother did. My mother actually is adverse to anything of physical activity, but it's just how she was raised. And my family was definitely more the scholastic kind of band nerd kind of people. I don't know where I came from, but it's all good. But like even my grandmothers, they were not physical, and maybe they were out in their gardens and doing things like that, but they just didn't know how to resistance train. It wasn't even a thing. So when we really think about this, women have been so confused for so long on what it takes. But the problem is we just pass this down generation to generation to generation. And the cool thing is, if you're here sitting in your 40s, your 50s, and you're like, hard stop, I want to hit these goals. Guess what? You're changing a generation. You're starting with yourself. And then guess what? Your daughters are going to see it. I mean, our kids know mommy and daddy go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They know that mommy and daddy are always focusing on protein. What is the protein on your plate? And it's a generational change. I mean, my kids were the first kids in their classroom to say, I can't eat that. It has red dye 40 in it. Or whatever. Or, I mean, I am the person calling the teacher saying, hey, too many birthday parties, way too much sugar. What are we going to do about it? Because I just know what it does to their little bodies. And I can't imagine being a teacher and having all those crazy kids, let alone me picking up one or two. Actually, I got two. So here's the thing. Since childhood, we have not been taught how to eat. We just were taught that, women need to be pretty. We need to, be nice and, just not to understand that, hey, our bodies are changing, especially in this menopausal state. And we didn't know because nobody talked about us. I mean, I can tell you, my mom did not talk to me about getting my period. That was just not something that she did. And, whether it's right, wrong, whatever, I know now that, hey, I am equipped to help our daughter, and I'm going to have these conversations with her. The other thing is I'm going to talk to her about hormones, and hey, as your cycle approaches, here's what you're going to feel. This is called normal. What's interesting about coaching women and understanding cycles is you're going to have a couple weeks where you absolutely feel freaking on fire. Then you're going to have a week that you're kind of like, oh, man, what's going on? And then all of a sudden you remember like, gosh, dang it, my cycle's coming. And then your cycle comes and you just feel like you're going to burn everybody alive. But we have to keep watching these patterns and just be like, okay, I was so emotional today. What the hell? Well, okay, guess what? Hormones. And it's not that there's anything wrong with them. It's your body being so cool and telling you what's up. The problem is when we have excess adipose tissue or fat tissue on our body, guess what? We don't feel good. And it leads to an estrogen dominance. And then what it does is it actually makes us feel more depressed, have more anxiety. And so it's just this huge circle. And so can you blame your hormones? You can. But here's the thing, you don't have to struggle through hormones. And here's what I'm going to say too, is too many women are on hormone replacement therapy without having proper labs to ensure that, hey, I'm on the right stuff, the right dose. Because again, there's nothing wrong with going on biological hormone replacement therapy. I think it's a really, really good thing for a lot of women, very life-giving. But if you don't have the labs to say, hey girl, this is what you should be doing, don't even mess around with any of this stuff, because I watch woman after woman after woman get on it based on symptoms and not actual labs, and labs done every 90 days on the 21st day of your cycle, which is really, really important. And it just puts them in a tailspin of gaining weight, especially right on the stomach. And it's just super, super frustrating. So that's the thing, is like, nobody is out here telling women, because typically most of us have not been taught like how to fuel our body, how to lift, how to regulate our nervous system, especially in today's age that we live in, where we're constantly on screens, we're constantly on our phone, we're always connected. Even for myself, I have had to have very, very religious practices of a hot shower at night. That absolutely pulls me down, especially because I'm always plugged in. I am always, either serving clients, I'm in my DMs, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, I'm recording these podcasts, I'm creating coaching messages. I got 2 kids, like a husband, 2 dogs, they're great. But like, you have to figure out ways to pull yourself down. And when you feel that like wired but tired feeling, typically things like heat can be really, really beneficial. Something that we invested in a few years back was a sauna, specifically a traditional sauna. And the sucker gets up to like 194 degrees Fahrenheit. And I mean, it's pretty hot, but man, it absolutely pulls me down a notch, and it's such a good detoxification, which has been something that I've personally been working on, and also a cold plunge. The cold plunge still shakes me every single time I get in it, and a lot of people think I do it for certain health benefits. I actually do it more to manage anxiety. There's nothing like the cold, which I hate. I actually have a gene that proves that I hate the cold. That's why I need to move somewhere warm. But the cold plunge for me is a control thing. So of course, no one wants to get in 40-degree water. And I look at it as an opportunity for me to go inward. And so what I do from a central nervous system standpoint is the second you get in, like you just got to go all the way in. Like if I sit there and hang out for a hot second, I'm not getting in. And so, which I've had days like that where it just didn't happen and there's no pressure. It just is for me. And so what I do is I get in, and then I immediately go to work controlling my breathing, because the second you get in, it takes your breath away, and you want to do that freak out type of short breathing, chest breathing. And so I have found that I can get myself in about 20 to 30 seconds. I can calm myself down. And so it's a very, very interesting exercise. And I typically hang out in it about 1 minute 30, 2 minutes at the most, is all I do. And I try to do that a couple times a week. Here lately, I haven't been as good about getting in, but I can tell you personally from an anxiety perspective, and this is coming from someone who actually used to take medicine like decades ago. And it was great, right? It totally like took you down a notch, but I personally just didn't want to be on something like that. And there's no shame in the game. Everybody's got to do what's best for them. But absolutely, the cold has 100% helped me with that. So it's something that we don't talk about, but the central nervous system is something you have to learn how to control. When we are constantly in this fight or flight, sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system, it is so challenging on us. And so what you want to think about is, what are things that help you? Like for me personally, throughout my day, I will just go walk outside. So personally, being in Indiana currently, it is very warm right now, in which I personally love every aspect of the heat. Heat just gives me a second to kind of reset, and then I come back inside, because obviously inside inside is air conditioned, it's cool. And so, but even that can give me just a second. Or if I'm feeling pretty jazzed, which to be genuine, since doing all this stuff, I very rarely feel jazzed. Like I feel very controlled and in my state, but a lot of that has to do with my mental programming and the way that I'm trained and how I have learned to maintain my state. So, okay, let's pull this all together. You've been chasing results, and this is actually the real problem with this is you're just chasing this result, but you're not actually becoming the new version of yourself. This is something that I talk to my clients all the time in my coaching program about, because it's not until we truly visualize and see ourselves on the other side of weight loss. The problem is everybody's trying to lose weight literally every day of their life. And when that's how you're programmed, when that's all you've thought about, of course you don't get to the end result because you've never actually visualized being at the end result. So this is where we have to do the reps, literally. So we have to make it just who we are. There are going to be multiple days that you don't feel like it. There are going to be multiple days that you say, it's okay if I don't work out today. And it's actually not. It's actually not okay. And that's not me beating you up or wanting you to feel guilty. It's, hey girl, I know you don't feel like it, but guess what? No one ever regrets a done workout, ever. So you have to decide that this is just who I am now. And here's the asterisk to all of this. It does not have to be perfect. The type of women that I attract, that I talk to, we are perfectionists. We like to do things and we like it to be done right. And typically that means we need to do it, correct? So there's a certain way to fold the towels. Every woman knows this, and that's the way it should be. And yes, your way's wrong. So trust me on this, but we have to understand the woman that you desire to be. And for most of you, you've never even thought about her. Like for most of you, you have such a distorted, and I mean this in the most respect, but you have a very distorted look in your head. Okay. And so this is where I want you to start looking at other women who have structures similar to you. And I want you to get inspiration. Like, you don't need to compare yourself if you are 5'9" to a 5'2" woman. That's not realistic. But what I want you to do is I want you to see the tone, the structure, how her body looks, how she moves, how her clothes fit. And we have to adopt this mindset of, that's what I want to look like. That's how I want to feel. A lot of times this is just a feeling. Like I remember early on in business, like I would participate in a lot of networking, specifically in a women's organization. And I remember walking into this networking event and everybody was dressed to the nines. Like everybody had on pearls. I don't even own pearls. They had on business suits. They had on pumps. And I'm pretty sure I showed up in like a polo and Lycra, probably flared pants at that time, and tennis shoes. And I was half everyone's age. So there's that. So I quickly learned that I needed to change my attire to fit in and to be taken seriously. But I started just watching the women. And specifically, I always will remember this one woman that I just admire, even to this day. And I watched how she talked. I watched how she listened. I watched how she moved through the room, and she commanded everyone's attention. Like everybody knew her name, everybody knew what she did, but she was so poised, she was so put together, she was just thoughtful. And I remember just like, I want to be like her. And so I just watched her. I interacted with her. But I more than anything observed how she spoke, how she did business, how she commanded the control of the room. And I was like, I want to be like that. And so that's what we need. We need leaders. We need women that we look up to. You know, we need women that are like, you're like, dang, maybe not everything that she's got going on, but I like how she moves. And so that's what we have to do, is we have to find these mentors, these guides, these women that put themselves out there the way you desire, because you need to see her. And so, just shy of stalking, right? No, it's just what we want to do is we want to emulate. And so sometimes it takes having that mentor, that guide, that coach. And so I want to pull this full circle and kind of bring this home now is, the truth is you're not broken, you're not lazy, you're just exhausted because you've been trying to put this together your entire adult life. Okay. Some of you, even from childhood. And so what you need is you need a strategy. You need a strategy that's going to work for your body, because the industry is lying to you. It's not about eating carbs, not eating carbs. It's not about fasting, not fasting. It's not about keto, not keto. It's not about calories in, calories out. It's about having the right strategy that works for you. And you need to have a coach who's going to cut through the noise, who's going to cut through the BS, who is going to keep you focused long after you really want to be focused. But it's also going to be the shift of your mindset. This is the essential piece, because here's the deal. We have to shift your mindset that stops your cycle. This is the last time I'm losing weight. I'm going to lose weight and this is going to be done. So let me know, because I know this podcast is hitting home. I know you've probably been listening to a few of these. And can you imagine, just like I said, middle of this podcast, here's January 26th. You've already hit your health goals. Can you imagine setting a different New Year's resolution? I can. All right, ladies, reach out. I'm here to help.